The relentless dinging of my doorbell yanked me out of a blissful Sunday afternoon nap. At first, I figured it was just a package delivery, but the non-stop ringing turned into an irritating loop of shrill electronic tones. Then came the banging. Fists, slamming against the front door with such force that I could feel the vibrations ripple through the couch. I grabbed my phone and opened the security camera app. And there she was, Deborah Whitfield, the HOA president. Though around here, everyone privately referred to her as Karen. Her face was twisted in fury, mascara smeared from what looked like angry tears, and her platinum blonde bob bouncing with each furious knock. "Open the door now. I know you're in there," she shouted, slamming the bell again and holding it for a solid 10 seconds. I let out a heavy sigh and got up, bracing myself for whatever drama was about to come crashing through my doorway. The second I opened it, she launched into a tirade. "Your animal is a menace to this neighborhood," she screamed before I could even say a word. She shoved her phone into my face, showing zoomed-in pictures of minor scratches on some vinyl siding. "Your monster has cost thousands of dollars. In damages, I'm holding you accountable." I blinked at her, stunned. Was she seriously accusing my 7-pound tabby cat Milo of attacking her house? It was so absurd I almost laughed until I saw the sheer rage in her eyes. She wasn't kidding. And what I didn't realize at that moment was that this ridiculous encounter was just the beginning. It would spiral into chaos involving flashing police lights and end with Karen in cuffs. Ever since becoming HOA president 3 years ago, Karen Whitfield had made life miserable for everyone in our subdivision. She ruled the neighborhood like her own private fiefdom, weaponizing the HOA handbook against anyone who stepped out of line. From unapproved mailbox ornaments to lawns barely taller than regulation, she found reasons to slap violations on everyone. Retired pharmaceutical sales rep with far too much free time, she spent her days prowling the streets in her white Lexus SUV, clipboard always in hand, hunting for the next offense, real or imagined. About a month ago, she found a new target, Milo. Ever since he began wandering into her obsessively curated flower beds, he'd become her latest obsession. Milo was a mostly chill indoor-outdoor cat, spending his days either lounging on my front porch or stretched out in a patch of sunlight. Far from the community threat Karen claimed he was. Still, I'd received 3 formal citations for uncontrolled pets, even though the HOA rules didn't actually ban cats from roaming outside. When I brought that up at the last HOA meeting, Karen's face turned a shade of red, I was fairly certain. Didn't occur in nature. "These aren't just scratches," Karen pressed on, flipping through more pictures on her phone. "This is deliberate property damage. I had my handyman evaluate it." She pulled out a wrinkled slip of paper that looked like it had been written during a coffee break. "He says it'll cost $3,000 to fix. I expect the money by the end of this week, or I'll have no choice but to pursue legal action. Against you and your little monster." I inhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. "Karen, Milo weighs 7 pounds and spends most of his time sleeping. It seems pretty unlikely he's the cause of this damage. Did you think maybe it was the storm last week? Falling branches, maybe?" Her eyes narrowed to slits. "So you're saying I'm lying?" she snapped. "I saw your cat yesterday clawing at my house. This is a breach of at least 3 HOA codes, and as president, it's my job to uphold them." With each accusation, she mashed my doorbell again, using the chime to punctuate her words. By now, a small group of neighbors had gathered across the street, clearly intrigued by the unfolding drama. Karen spotted them too and immediately switched into performance mode. Turning toward them, she raised her voice, addressing the whole block. "This is exactly what happens when people don't control their animals. If we let this continue, property values will go down. Everyone needs to follow the rules. Crime will rise. This is how good neighborhoods go downhill," Karen declared theatrically. Across the street, my neighbor Rob had his phone out, clearly filming everything. When Karen noticed, she whipped around to face him. "You need to delete that right now," she barked. "Taking photos or video without consent violates HOA regulations." Of course, that was completely false. But Karen had a knack for making up rules whenever it suited her narrative. I'd finally reached my breaking point with the doorbell abuse and public performance. "Karen, I'm asking you to leave my property," I said firmly. "We're done here. If you have an actual complaint, send it through official HOA channels." Something shifted in her expression. Her eyes grew wide, her lips pressed into a thin, tight line. "Oh, I'll leave," she said, her voice suddenly calm. Too calm. "But first, I need to document where that destructive animal is." Before I could react, she turned on her heel and stormed off my porch. I watched, stunned, as she made a beeline toward my side yard. Horror crept in as I saw her on my security feed, unlatching the gate and walking right into my backyard, completely uninvited. I grabbed my phone and called 911. "I need police assistance," I told the dispatcher quickly. "There's a woman trespassing in my yard. She's threatening my cat." I gave my address and explained the situation as I kept my eyes glued to the camera feed. Karen was now pacing around my backyard like she owned the place, peeking under bushes and behind the shed. Then Milo came into view, curled up peacefully on a patio chair. The second he spotted her, his back arched just slightly, alert and unsure of the intruder. Karen spotted him too. "There you are, you little vandal," she snapped, grabbing a ASI broom I'd left resting against the house. "I'm going to get proof. I want photos of your claws." She started moving toward Milo, brandishing the broom like a weapon. Startled, he bolted under the deck, tail puffed in fear. Undeterred, Karen dropped to her knees and began jabbing the broom under the deck while shouting about rabies and disease. I ran outside, still connected to the 911 dispatcher. "Stop it! You're trespassing and harassing my pet," I yelled. "Get off my property, now!" "The police are on their way," I shouted. "I am the authority here." Karen screeched back, still frantically jabbing the broomstick under the deck. "This is an official HOA investigation. I'm well within my rights as president." In her frenzy, she'd snapped the broom head clean off, now thrusting the jagged wooden handle beneath the deck like she was storming a castle. Milo's frightened cries echoed from underneath, each one slicing through my nerves. My frustration was quickly morphing into fury. Then mercifully, I heard the sound of sirens in the distance. By now, a small crowd had assembled along the edge of my property. Neighbors watching wide-eyed as Karen, our suburban despot, scrambled on all fours, desperately trying to extract a house cat. Her once pristine beige capri was streaked with dirt, and her meticulously curled hair hung in limp, frizzy strands around her flushed, sweaty face. The police arrived just in time to see the climax of the madness. Karen had cornered Milo at the far end of the deck, red-faced and ranting as she waved the broken broom handle like a deranged knight. Milo was frozen in fear, his ears flattened and tail puffed to full alarm mode. One of the officers stepped forward, voice firm and measured. "Ma'am, I need you to step away from the animal and come over here." Karen spun around to face him, still clutching the broom handle like a weapon. "This is official HOA business. This man's cat vandalized my property, and I have every right to gather evidence." The older officer moved toward her cautiously, reading the situation like someone who'd seen this kind of suburban drama take a weird turn before. "Ma'am," the officer said firmly, "regardless of any HOA matters, you're trespassing on private property. Please step away from the cat and come speak with us." By now, the entire neighborhood seemed to have gathered along the sidewalk. Several people held up their phones, showing the officers video evidence. Karen repeatedly ringing my doorbell, storming onto my property and chasing Milo around the yard with a broken broom handle. The case against her was clear and damning. "That cat is destructive," she kept insisting. "He damaged my house. I have proof." Despite her protests, the officers calmly but firmly guided her toward the front yard. "Do you even know who I am?" she demanded. "I'm the president of the Maple Creek Homeowners Association. I have the right to inspect any property in this neighborhood." The younger officer shook his head. "Ma'am, being the HOA president doesn't grant you the legal authority to enter private property without consent or intimidate someone's pet. Based on the footage we've reviewed and multiple witness accounts, we're placing you under arrest for trespassing, property damage, and animal harassment." Karen's expression shifted in an instant, from outraged authority figure to stunned disbelief. "Arrested? You can't be serious. This is outrageous. I was protecting the community. That cat is the real threat." As the officer began reading her Miranda rights, Karen's voice climbed into hysteria. "You'll all regret this," she shrieked. "I know the mayor. This whole place will fall apart without me. That cat should be in handcuffs." The entire block stood frozen in stunned silence as Karen Whitfield, still ranting about her power and Milo's alleged crimes, was escorted to a waiting police cruiser. A neighbor gently approached me, holding Milo in their arms. My poor Tabby had finally crawled out from under the deck, visibly shaken but unharmed. 2 days later, an envelope from the HOA board arrived in my mailbox. Inside was a formal notice. An emergency meeting had been held. The board had voted, unanimously, to remove Karen from her role as HOA president. This story is a sharply comedic yet tense suburban drama that escalates from a petty HOA dispute into a full-blown neighborhood spectacle. Centered around Karen Whitfield, an overzealous HOA president with a flair for control and self-importance, The narrative unfolds with absurdity as she accuses a mild-mannered house cat of property destruction. Her obsessive crusade culminates in trespassing, harassment, and a dramatic arrest, all witnessed and recorded by amused neighbors. The tale cleverly critiques suburban authoritarianism and the misuse of minor authority, ending with poetic justice as Karen is stripped of her title and dignity.